Hello, my name is Roger Coleman. I'm the city manager here in Coweta, and welcome to this edition of Coweta Connections Online. Today, I'm happy to host the students from Mission IGC's NEHS program to discuss the important topic of government in our constitutional republic. The students are going to learn about how the government works at the federal, state, and local level, and hopefully learn a little bit for the upcoming student council elections at their school.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Roger Coleman. I'm the city manager here in Coweta, and I'm happy to host this version of Coweta Connections Online and the students from Mission Intermediate Grade Center. So we're going to talk a little bit today about government, and as long as I don't get too antsy with my mouse here. So, the levels of government in the United States. So, just as this is a very comprehensive view, 100,000 foot level, but in the United States is a constitutional republic. And a constitutional republic, the citizens give permission to the government that they elect to make laws that the citizens will live under, okay? So there are three levels of government in the United States, generally. You have the federal government, the state governments, and then under the state governments, we have counties, cities, and other local districts. And the states pretty much make the laws for the counties, cities, and other governments, other boards, except the federal government does have some interaction through federal law. So generally, stop that. A little antsy. Sorry, kids.
It's okay.
Generally, thank you, I appreciate it. Generally, we report to the state, but for some things, the city actually reports to the federal government, correct? Oops, I didn't want to do that just yet. So, because I wanted to ask you kids a question. Who knows the three branches of the federal government? Oh, I'm impressed. What do you got?
Executive, legislative, and judicial.
Excellent. So, we have an executive branch, which is led by the President of the United States. We have a legislative branch, the House and the Senate, which are led by the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate. And then we have the judicial branch, which is led by the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, all three of these levels of government interact with each other through a series of checks and balances to make sure that one branch of government doesn't become too powerful and make it difficult for the citizens that elected them to live under their rule. So, in the state government, the important thing here is elected by the people, appointed by the executive branch, and confirmed by the legislative branch. So that's how the checks and balances come into play for the judicial branch at the federal level. So at the state level, again, the citizens elect the executive, who's the governor. They elect the legislative branch, which is the House and the Senate, and they elect the judicial branch, which is the state courts and the Supreme Court of the state of Oklahoma. And here, the executive branch, and this happens at the federal level as well, but the executive, the governor, appoints administrative officers, and those administrative officers are confirmed by the legislative branch. So in local governments, again, the citizens appoint or vote for the legislative bodies, which are councils and boards, and the judicial branch, which is city and county courts. In some places, the county and some city courts are elected, the judges are elected by the people, but mostly they're appointed by the legislative body. And then the legislative body appoints professional staff. So here in Coweta, we have what's called the council manager form of government. And under the council manager form of government, it's morning on a Friday, I can't speak very well today. Council manager form of government, the citizens elect the city council, The city council hires a city manager, that's me, and then the city manager is responsible for the city attorney, the city clerk, the police chief, the fire chief, public works director, the judge, the community development director, and the library director. And all of these people are responsible for all of this stuff. And they report up the line to me, and I report to the city council. That make sense? Okay, so here in Coweta, we have what's called a ward system. And in the ward system, we have 4 wards, which are basically, it divides the city into different sections. And I'll show you a map of that here pretty quick. But the city is divided into 4 wards. We have Councilmember Hogue, Councilmember Young, Councilmember Chance, Councilmember Brown, and then an at-large seat is held by Councilmember Woodward. And so these 4 represent, or in theory, represent their citizens that live in their ward, and Councilmember Woodward represents everybody. Now, Oklahoma is a little odd in that all of the citizens vote for all of the ward members. In most states with a ward system, if I lived in Ward 1, I could only vote for a Ward 1 council member and a large council member if they existed. But here in Oklahoma, we do it a little bit differently, where the citizens across Coweta can vote for all of these ward members as well as the at-large member. So our council members serve 4-year terms. Put that down, it's dangerous. They serve 4-year terms, and they are paid a very small stipend every month to serve for these seats. It's not a full-time job for our council members. They serve part-time, they go to meetings, they go to public events, and then of course they interact with the citizens and then interact with me on various subjects. And here is our ward map. So the way it's divided up, and it's divided up every 10 years based upon the results of the census. And it divides basically by kind of population. So each one of these wards has basically the same number of people living in it to make representation of the people fair across the board. So, all of that being said, I understand you guys have some questions, and I hope you have a lot of them, because I can talk about a lot of different things. So who's got a question? Go ahead.
What is something that is challenging as a city manager?
Well, so one of the very challenging things is we have a lot of things that we have to accomplish in Coweta, and it's just not in Coweta, but it's in all cities, where we have infrastructure needs, and we have needs for more police officer, and we have needs for more firefighters. All of those things compete for the number of dollars that we can bring in to support the system. In Oklahoma, our governments, our local governments, are supported almost entirely from sales tax. So the sales tax dollars that we can generate from the retail stores that we have in Coweta have to go to pay for all of that stuff. So my challenge is having to prioritize all of those things and determine, okay, well, we really need to go do this street, and if we do that street, that means that maybe we couldn't do this other project because we spent the money over here on this street. Yes, ma'am?
What are your favorite things to do?
My favorite things to do are figure out ways that I can really make Coweta be a better place, not only for the people that live here today, but the people that are going to live here in 20 and 30 years from now. It's a challenge to really kind of understand what the needs of our citizens today and try and figure out maybe what they're going to need in 20 or 30 years and try and meet those goals today. But it's really fun to do that kind of stuff. It's interesting to be able to help someone and have them say, "Oh, thank you. I didn't understand what I needed to do, but I appreciate you going the extra mile to help me out."
I have a question for them. So we are having our student council elections next week, and several of these kiddos are running for different positions. Do you have any advice for those that are running?
Yes. So if you want to be in an elected position, you have to connect with the people that are going to elect you. So talk to the people talk to your fellow students and make sure that they know you're running and why you're running, and ask them what they want you to do as an elected representative. And then try and fulfill that when you get elected. Now, the challenge is when you get on the board is you, as the elected member, have to try and convince the other elected members that we should do this instead of this. But if you can create a good argument for it, show people how it works, you'll convince other people to vote with you. So make those connections and then try and keep your promises when you do get elected. And good luck. It's a good thing to participate in student government, because that sets you up to kind of understand how you have to act as an adult, where you have to compromise on things, because we hardly ever get exactly what we want in this life. So you have to learn to compromise, and compromise with the people that are on your board, and compromise with the people that you're going to work with.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Coweta Connections Online. Hopefully the students were able to learn a little bit about the government and how it works here in our constitutional republic, things that they will be able to take forward for the rest of their lives. If you have any questions, you can contact us at 918-486-2189 or at the email that follows.